Hey guys, today what we're going to do is unit rates and complex fractions. You're going to take notes with me and then you're going to practice. I do not want you doing all of the problems on the practice because it's hard to read them and I really don't want you getting confused. So you're only going to do specific problems on the practice. So make sure you follow directions, okay? So while I'm sharing my screen, if you don't mind, please go ahead and make sure you have printed out your notes and your practice worksheets. All right, let's begin. So unit rates with complex fractions. Complex fractions are not scary as they sound. A complex fraction is just a fraction that has another fraction in its numerator or denominator or both. Complex fractions must be simplified. To do this, simply remember that a fraction is just another way of writing division, a division problem. So just divide the numerator by the denominator to simplify a complex fraction. For example, 1/4 over 5/6. 1/4 is your numerator. 5/6 is your denominator. To simplify this, just work out 1/4 divided by 5/6. Then you're going to do SOR, same, opposite, and reciprocal, or KCF, keep, change, flip. And you'll get the exact same answer. So let's do a couple problems, and then we're going to go on. All right, here we go. Now let's examine familiar problems this time using division. Miss walks a lot, walks 1/2 a mile per quarter hour. How far does she walk per hour? Now, let's go back to here, per hour. Remember at the beginning of this year when we did proportions? I'm going to show you the long way, and then I'm going to come back to this example because this is a shortcut, but you have to understand why. There is a reason why 1/4 is on the bottom, and if you don't understand why, you're going to get it wrong. So let's go back to unit 2, I think, with ratios and proportions. So let's talk about this. Miss walks a lot, walks 1/2 a mile per 1/4 hour. So I know she goes 1/2 of a mile per 1/4 of an hour. Now look at the question. How far does she walk per hour? I want 1 hour. I don't want 1/4, I want 1. So remember a long time ago, we set up a proportion and we set it up equal to something over 1 hour. Remember that? Well, what do I have to do to 1/4 to get 1? Because I'm going from this guy to the blank, from 1/4 of an hour to 1 hour. So what am I going to do to 1/4 to get 1? I'm going to divide by 1/4 because 1/4 divided by 1/4 is 1. So I'm going to divide 1/2 by 1/4. So let's do it. 1/2 divided by 1/4. Going to keep, change, flip, or same, opposite, and reciprocal. I'm going to cross simplify. 1, 2, which gives me 2 over 1, which gives me 2. That means I'm going to go 2 miles in 1 hour. Now notice, what did I divide by? I divided by 1/4 because I wanted 1 hour. So when you're going to set it up, now you can do it as a proportion. That's fine. That's how I think about it. But if you want to do a shortcut, here's the shortcut. All you have to do is say 1/2 of a mile, 1/2 of a mile, divided by 1/4 of an hour. Whatever you want 1 of goes on the bottom. That's important. If you put it on the top, you're going to get a completely different answer. All right, so they did 1/2 divided by 1/4. They did SOR, same, opposite, reciprocal, and they got 2 miles per hour. So Miss walks a lot, walks 2 miles per hour. All right, so here's 2 more examples. Find the unit rate. For our unit rate, it must be placed in the denominator, all right, of the fraction. So let's look at example number 1. Andrew, the butcher, charges $2.50 per 1/5 pound of gourmet pork. What is the unit rate price per 1 pound? I want 1 pound. That means pounds has to go in the denominator. Now, notice when they got to the division, I don't see a 1/5, I see a 0.2 because you realize that 1/5 is the same thing as 2/10. 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. That's why they divided by 0.2. Now you could have written it as a fraction because you've got a fraction and a decimal. You could have written them both as fractions, You could have written them both as decimals. It's your choice, whatever you want to work on. Example number 2. Michaela runs 1.5 miles in 2/10 of an hour. How far can she run in 1 hour? Well, let's look. She runs 1.5 miles in 2/10 of an hour. How far can she run in 1 hour? I want 1 hour, so I put the hours on the bottom. So 1.5 divided by 2/10. I change 1.5 to an improper fraction 3/2. Keep change flips, same opposite and reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2/10 is 10/2. Multiply straight across, or you could have cross simplified, your choice, doesn't matter. You're going to get the same exact answer of 7.5 miles per hour. Now, here's another thing. You can write it as per. You can write it as a slash instead of per. You can do mph, miles per hour, your choice, or per 1 hour. All right, so let's do some problems. All right, now you try using a division, find the unit rate to solve each problem below. You can stop, pause it if you'd like, and then see if you're right. But if you got it wrong, you have to fix it. So Joshua read 1/6 of his book in 1/3 hour. At this rate, how much of his book will he read in an entire hour? An entire hour means 1 hour. So who do you need to put on the bottom? I want 1 hour, so the hours have to go on the bottom. So I'm going to do 1/6 divided by 1/3. Notice I like my fraction bar longer. I can tell the difference. That's why you're not going to do a couple of the problems on the homework, on the practice sheet. So 1/6 divided by 1/3, right? 1/6 times 3/1, cross simplify, gives me 1/2. So what is your question? How much of his book will he read in an entire hour? Joshua will read a half of his book in an hour. Oop, starting to go into the fraction. All right, always want to try to rewrite it as a sentence, a complete sentence. Number 2, Katie needs 1/8 cups of sugar to make 1/4 of her cookie recipe. All right, so she needs 1/8 of a cup of sugar to make 1/4 of a cookie recipe. That's not the whole thing, that's 1/4. Look at the question. How much sugar does she need to make the entire recipe? That means the whole recipe, the one whole thing, a whole recipe. So what do we want 1 of? We want the whole recipe. That means I'm going to take 1/8 divided by 1/4 because I've got the recipe on the bottom. So 1/8 divided by 1/4, 1/8 times 4/1, cross simplify, gives me 1/2. So how much sugar does she need to make the entire recipe? Katie needs a 1/2 cup of sugar for the entire recipe. Ooh, recipe, having issues. All right, challenge. Oh, this is not a challenge, this is easy. Dino jogs a 1/2 mile in 2/5 of an hour. So, he jogs a 1/2 mile in 2/5 of an hour. At this rate, how far can he jog in 1 hour? Who goes on the bottom? The hours. 2/5 has to go on the bottom. So I have 1/2 divided by 2/5. So 1/2 divided by 2/5 gives me 1/2 times 5/2, which gives me 5/4, which is the same thing as 1 1/4. All right, so what is the question? How far can he jog in 1 hour? So let me get my different color. Dino can jog 1 1/4 miles per hour, or 1 1/4 mph, miles per hour. All right? All right, now at this point in time, we're going to go into our practice. Remember, I only want you to do certain numbers, and here's why. If I look at number 1, you don't have, which I don't like, they should have made one of the lines longer to look at the division. Because if I did 4 divided by 1/5 is different than 4 over 1 divided by 5. You're going to get a different answer. And I don't want you confused. So we're going to make sure we do the ones that have a fraction on top and a fraction on bottom. Okay? We're only going to do 3 of them on top and then the word problems. So number 2, 3/4 divided by 6/7. So 3/4 divided by 6/7 gives me 3/4 times 7 over 6, which gives me 20. Oh, I can cross simplify. Why would I not cross simplify? That doesn't make sense. Which gives me 7 over 8. Now, if you got 21 over 24, that's fine. Simplify it. And there's your answer, 7/8. All right. So at this point, pause it. Then do your problem. See if you get it right. Okay. The next problem we're going to do is number 6. All right. Let's look at number 6. Number 6 says 4/15 divided by 2/5. So 4/15 divided by 2/5. So 4/15 times 5 over 2. We're going to cross simplify. 1, 2. Cross simplify. 1, 3. Which gives me 2/3. All right. 2/3 is your answer. Last of the easy problems, number 9. 6/7 divided by 9/14. So 6/7 divided by 9/14, which gives me 6 over 7 times 14 over 9. Cross simplify. Divide by 3 is 2. Divide by 3 is 3. Divided by 7 is 1. Divide by 7 is 2, which gives me 4 over 3. And 4 over 3 is the same thing as 1 and 1/3. That's having issues with my 3s today, aren't I? They mean exactly the same thing. All right, simple problems done. Let's move on to the word problems. And it's not hard, it's very easy. Running, Jonathan can jog 3 2/5 miles in 7/8 hour. Find his average speeds in miles per hour. That tells me exactly what I need to do. Because I got 3 2/5 miles in 7/8 of an hour. I want to find his average speed in miles per hour. What does he want 1 of? He wants 1 hour. So our hours has to go on the bottom. So I'm going to do 3 2/5 divided by 7/8. Because hours has to go on the bottom. All right. So let's do it. Here we go. Rewrite it as 3 2/5 divided by 7/8. Make it improper, 15, 16, 17 over 5 times 8 over 7. SOAR, same, opposite, and reciprocal. All right, there's nothing I can do here. I actually have to just go straight across. All right, let's do it. The denominator is going to be 35. 17 times 8 is 56. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 136. 136 over 35. All right. Ooh, that's going to give me a not nice number. So let's go ahead and divide 136 divided by 35. 35 goes into 136, gives me 3 times. That's 15, 9, 10, 131. So it's going to be 3 31/35 miles, or mph. 3 31/35 miles per hour. All right, number 11. A truck driver drove 120 miles in 1 3/4 hours. What is the speed of the truck in miles per hour? Who goes on the bottom? Hours. So we have to do 120 over 1 3/4, right? Because we know 120 is the miles, 1 3/4 the hours. I need the hours to go on the bottom because I want per 1 hour. So 120 divided by 1 3/4. So 120 over 1 divided by 4, 5, 6, 7 over 4. I've got a SOAR, 120 over 1 times 4 over 7, which gives me 480 divided by 7, right? So we got to figure that out. 480 divided by 7 gives me 6. That's 42. 7 goes into 60. 9 is 63, so it's going to be 8 is 56. So it's going to be 68 and 4/7 miles per hour. So what's the speed of the truck in miles per hour? The speed of the truck is 68 and 4/7 miles per hour. And oh, I did a boo-boo. I didn't write it in a sentence back here for number 10, average speed in miles per hour. So Jonathan, I'm sorry, John can jog at 3 3/31/35 miles per hour. Had to go back to number 10. That was my fault. All right, let's go on to number 12. Reading. Charlotte reads 8 1/3 pages of a book in 10 minutes. What is her average reading rate in pages per minute? So we have to do divided by the minutes because I want 1 minute. So we're going to do 8 1/3 divided by, so make sure my 3's are having issues, divided by 10, right? Because I want 1 minute. It has to go on the bottom. So that's going to give me 8 1/3 divided by 10. That's 24 plus 1 is 25 thirds, right? Times 1/10. Remember, 10 is a fraction, is 10/1. All right, I can cross simplify. Divide by 5 is 2. Divide by 5 is 5. So that is going to give me 5/6. That means what is her average reading rate in pages per minute? Charlotte's average reading rate is 5/6 pages per minute. Remember, you can do a slash for per, pages per minute. All right, last section. Write each percent as a fraction in simplest form. All right, so, but Miss Cassie, there aren't any fractions. No, baby. Yes, there is a fraction, but that's a percent. I have to get rid of the percent sign. That was my issue when I was growing up. I went, oh, it's a fraction, we're done. No, you have to get rid of the percent sign. So how do you write this as a fraction? It's 45 1/2 over what are percents always out of 100. So we're going to do 45 1/2 divided by 100. Okay, make it better. So that's going to give me 90 plus 1 is 91 over 2 times 1 over 100, which gives me 91 over 200. And that is as far as I can get, 91 over 200. Let's look at number 14. That means 30 1/4 divided by 100. So 30 1/4 divided by 100 gives me 121 divided by 4 times 1 over 100. Can't simplify, so I get 121 over 400. And that's as far as you can go. And lastly, we've got, let's do it in that color. So we have 75 1/3 over 100, which gives me 75 1/3 divided by 100. That's going to be 15, 16, let's see, 21, 22. Is that right? Let's get my calculator just in case. And I don't have one. So we're going to do it over here. 75 times 3, 15, 21, 22, plus the 1, right, 126 over 3 times 1 over 100. You can cross simplify, and that's going to give me 50 over 113. So that should give me 113 over 150, and that's it. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, so what I want you to do is make sure you understand it. Tomorrow, you're going to be doing a USA Test Prep assignment over this example. It's our last 4 days, And then we might do some fun stuff next week if needed, if we'd like. That'd be kind of cool. Have a wonderful evening. We'll have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you later. There is no Zoom meeting today. Bye-bye.